Hello, listener, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Keeping Up Appearances podcast, full of opinion, debate, and football trivia with a hint of nostalgia. I'm Callum Murray, and here with me is
Sean O'Hara,
Bob Gall, and Michael Tosh.
They say not to judge a book by its cover, but we might judge a player by their appearance. Let's get into it.
It's Carlo, what's he going to do? Ready! Tassagno! Ready! Oh, yes!
Okay, it's working now. I definitely need my picture change in there because I've aged terribly since I was taken.
Probably hard on yourself, Bob.
You're a bit muffly. You might have to speak quite clearly.
I'll try that better.
He already put a different voice on.
When you're media trained like me, Bob, it's all to me.
Which is on and off, doesn't it? You can tell.
That's his CNN voice.
You said it, Sean.
What's your GB News voice, Callum?
It's like I'd be an alter ego on GB News, Bob.
Right. Paddy, you need to back yourself here.
I really don't want to do that.
Well, they got Phil Devine on there.
In the Lions, then.
About, I asked Phil what he thought of it, and he agreed with everything we said. So I don't even think he'd argue.
No, we don't want that.
You don't know if he'd agreed with anything I'm going to say. Yeah, so should we just say, or should we just do that? Just and see where we are after the Derby review then, and then finish that last.
Yeah, see where we are after the Derby review, and then we can just go straight into the Keeping Up Appearances if we need to, and do the Derby preview later.
Yes.
The Derby, the Manchester Derby preview.
Specify which Derby, Callum.
Well, one's a preview, one's a review.
One's a review. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I said it.
He had his voice up for that as well. So,
professional. Tosh new. So, you ready?
Yeah.
The only thing I was thinking though is, I know we should, as we always, we should have this conversation before. I think
we did briefly.
Yeah, but I was just thinking before, if I'm doing the Charltons, if that's like the reason we're doing it, that should probably come first, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
But then it means I'm talking for quite a long time there. But no.
Do some active listening where we jump in.
Correct.
Stop, and then Sean can put the clip in from Mike Bassett.
It's going to be quite difficult for my internet, we reckon, to go like 3 minutes without a breakup. So I'm certainly not going to do it all again.
Okay.
Just go last. Do that.
Yeah, I think you go last. I think it makes sense for you to actually go last, then you sort of tie it together and say...
Can Callum go first? Because no one knows who he's talking about.
That's fine. I'll do that.
Lucy said to me what you could do as well. No, like since there's a poll with 5, we could all vote to get rid of one of them that's not in the poll.
That's good. So the Greys then.
But I was going to say this week we don't even need to do the poll.
I just
I still don't know what Bob's going to do, but I know it's better than the Greys. So
it's funnier than the Greys anyway.
We knew you wouldn't take it seriously, Bob.
When have I ever taken anything seriously?
Baines hasn't got a brother who played football, has he? Or?
I did do some research, but I couldn't find anything. His kids aren't old enough yet either, so...
Right, so
I'm going to... I'll do their little review. I'll say we're doing football and families with news of the Bob. I'll mention Bob.
There we go.
Go on,
yeah,
then,
you broke up, Tosh, but yeah, that whatever you said is fine.
We'll go with that.
Get used to that one.
Come on, let's go. We need to get a move on.
Okay. So we're back with a new episode of the Keeping Up Appearances podcast. It's another full lineup from us. We've drafted in another Liverpudlian guest. We're happy to have Paddy Fitzsimmons with us. How are you doing, Pad?
A bit brave coming on after the weekend. So we'll see how that chat goes later on.
I'm sure you'll be all right. And yeah, glad to have you. So thanks for joining us. With the sad passing of Bobby Charlton over the weekend, obviously a giant of the game, we will do a bit of a special theme for Marooned 5 this week, which I will let Tosh explain in a second. So yeah, we've got Marooned 5 coming up. We'll have the review of the Merseyside Derby after that, in which Paddy might get a bit of a drilling, but we'll see. And then, yeah, we'll go on to preview the Manchester Derby this weekend. And we'll go on to our Keeping Up Appearances game, in which we'll have a match picked from 3 random games selected. So, yeah, as I've said, a giant of the game, an icon, a footballing legend for England and Manchester United. I'll hand it over to Tosh to introduce our Marooned 5 and maybe give a couple of words.
So before we move on to this week's Marooned 5, we'll have a little look at the results from last week. So if you remember rightly, we changed our format so that you, the listeners, decided who would be marooned. And an emphatic win for Marco van Basten, getting 46% of the votes. So he'll be taking his place on the island, and we'll see who joins him from this week's. So as Callum hinted, we're going to be looking at football and families and the most successful ones, linking to the sad news of Sir Bobby Charlton's passing. We might hear a bit more about him in one of our picks. So to start us off, I think we'll go to Callum first of all. Callum, you ready for your pick for Marooned 5?
Yes, I will go with mine first. I think I've been edged into doing mine first because people don't think it's a very good one. But I'll put a case forward. To be fair, I don't think anyone else's pick will have possibly the numbers that mine has. So yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to go with the Greys and the Grey dynasty of Leeds United. So it actually spans over 3 generations. So you've got Eddie Gray and Frank Gray. So Eddie had, I think, over 500 games for Leeds. Considered one of the greatest ever players. He's kind of like the sort of Leeds legend, possibly.
Is he manager for a bit as well?
He took them down, Bob.
Oh, right, okay, legend.
Playing legend, didn't say about manager. So yeah, he's one of the sort of real legends. His brother Frank played for Leeds, won a European Cup with Nottingham Forest as well, and got over, I think, 30 Scotland caps. So I mean that was just quite good for just brothers in general. And then you've got their sons. So Frank's son Andy had quite a long career, played for Leeds as well. And then Eddie's 2 sons, Nick and Stuart Gray, played for Celtic. Whilst Eddie's other son was at Leeds too. And then you've got the next generation. So Andy's sons, Archie and Harry. Archie, I think, has played nearly all minutes for Leeds this season in centre mid in the Championship, which isn't an easy thing to do. I think he was training with Bielsa's Leeds from being in year 11, possibly. And yeah, he's sort of playing for England under 19s now and tearing up there with the England youth teams. And his younger brother, Harry, made his debut for the Leeds under 18s the week before last, scored in his debut, and has been selected in the England under 16s squad as well. So yeah, in terms of numbers and generations, there's maybe not many 3-generation football and families, especially not sort of a granddad who's won the European Cup, and then his grandchildren are playing sort of at a high level. So yeah, as a bit of maybe an out of the box thinking on my football and family, I've gone with the Grey dynasty of Leeds United.
Anyone want to chip in? All I know is Callum named 8 footballers, and I've heard of 2 of them.
And you didn't mention Damari.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sean, and the Andy Gray isn't the one you're thinking of. So,
one of them then.
No, I think I know it's supposed to. I think it's a very interesting shout. I think, yeah, I didn't know a lot of that. I know about Eddie Gray. I'd read, I think, recently about another Gray playing. I certainly didn't know there was that sort of dynasty, is the word Callum used, which, yeah, fair play.
Generous.
I don't know. I think obviously, yeah, I think Eddie playing in that team, that's a very famous Leeds side, isn't it? And I think there's a lot of, like Callum said about the Leeds legend, I think there's a few in there, that one of which is probably going to get a mention later on. So I think, yeah, a good guess. Like, nice thinking outside the box.
Yeah, well researched, but I don't think they're getting any votes other than Callum.
And maybe if one of the Greys is listening.
The oldest one.
Yeah, there's enough of them.
Or if Sean picks the wrong person to ask, and get a landslide victory for them on Twitter.
That's a good point, actually.
Frank Gray's nephews.
Right. Any thoughts, Callum? Any last thoughts before we move it on?
No, as I say, it was just a bit of an out of the box thinking one. It's as sort of generationally. I don't know if any. I mean, I don't know what other people have picked. I doubt they would have picked the 3-generation one. There's maybe a couple knocking about, but not many. And I think this is maybe one as well for the future too. If maybe, I don't know, if you get into 5 seasons of Keeping Up Appearances podcast, you might look back on this one as being a good shout, because, as I say, the 2 younger ones are young and breaking through, but I think they could be, if all goes to plan, I think they will be kind of elite and, yeah, possibly top end Premier League.
You're saying we need the poll to last 5 years just for fairness.
Yeah, well, it might just be a case of revisiting it. We'll see.
Yeah, long term. Fair play. Put his case forward well. Can't argue with that. Well, we did, but never mind. Sean, what are we thinking? Come on, you up second.
Yeah, so my pick for Marooned 5 this week is more of a modern pick than Callum. Callum's obviously gone back 60 years. He's clutching at straws 60 years ago. I've gone for two players who are currently playing. Not only are they playing footy, they're both playing at the top level, like domestically and internationally. And I've also gone outside the box, and rather than looking at your traditional family of brothers, uncles, I've gone for a brother and a sister. So I've gone for Lauren and Reece James. So the reason I decided to go for these two is because I'd say probably most of us on this panel are advocates of women's football anyway. I take it you're not, Paddy. As I said, most.
Go on. I'm interested.
Yeah, you don't look it. So yeah, obviously we all kind of have taken an interest in football tournaments in the past, specifically the World Cup in June, July this year, in which kind of Lauren James almost announced herself onto the scene, whether people had seen her in the WSL or not. We kind of saw how important she was to the England setup this summer. But alongside that, you've got Reece James, who he's club captain at Chelsea. He's an England regular. There's obviously big debates over the right back position in England, but he seems to get the nod more times than not. When he's not injured. Well, when he's not injured, yeah. But I think Reece James is obviously playing at the highest level he possibly can. And I think it's telling that when you look back at their kind of upbringing in the family tree, you've got the dad was a former footballer to a certain level himself, became a coaching grassroots teams. Then they've got the two brothers, the elder brother, then Reece, then Lauren, all of them playing fairly high-level football from kids. The two boys in academies at Reading, I think. And then, of course, Reece at Chelsea, it's from 6. And you've got Lauren James, who, from that age, is playing with the brothers. But she's not just like playing with the brothers like who are as good as me. She's playing with top level kids, you know what I mean, with boys. And I think it shows when you look at how Lauren James plays. She shares a lot of the same skills as her brother. She's strong, she's fairly quick, really good feet. In terms of women's football, I don't mean this as a diss, but she's actually very good finisher, which is something that sometimes lobbied at women's footballers. And I think it just shows how big of an impact it was for her growing up with these boys, that she had to kind of become good at footy to kind of stick it with the two brothers. She ended up playing Sunday League with the two boys, playing in boys' teams. And then I think the most important thing is that obviously no other brother and sister have ever played for England before. But I think what sets these up as a bigger kind of deal than they may be viewed as is, I think, in 15 years' time, with the ascendancy that women's football is going on, I think Lauren James will potentially be a bigger worldwide star than her brother, which, if you asked me 10 years ago if that would ever happen, the answer would be no. And I think the World Cup this year showed, especially that when you think about that China game and she scored the hat-trick, just how huge she can be. And then even in the final, it was always get Lauren James on. I think she's kind of becoming the face of women's footy. Almost, she's got like deals you see on the side of shops. And I just think for a little sister to be eclipsing her brother, who was an England international, I just think is unbelievable, and it's great, really.
I think that she's part of that next generation, isn't she? Like, I know, like as Sean mentioned, like both, like I remember, and you had people like, you know, like Karen Carney and
Sue Smith.
Yeah, and people like that. I think she was a bit earlier, Sue Smith, but we know even like Ellen White who won the thing, but we're gone. I think Lauren James, she's just a bit more, you can see, like, I think as you said, a bit more like she just looks like a proper, like she could play in the man's game without being disrespectful for some of the years. You know, like she's very physical, she's fast, she's powerful. I think you're right in that. I think she is going to be one of the leading lights. I think that was sort of the World Cup was a passing of the torch, really, from some of them players who've been around for 5-6 years to the new generation, because she obviously had that sending off, didn't she? And like she struggled to get back into the team after that, really. But you can see like a clear talent, and you know Chelsea are the leading team at the moment. Last couple of leagues, I think I might be right be saying, and you know I think she's one of the stars of that team.
Yeah, but I think that's it. The fact that she's she is so strong, and you say she could potentially play in the men's game. That's just come from a life of battling with Reece in the garden, just like probably battering each other. And I just think it's kind of...
He'd have been getting injured then, wouldn't he?
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't particularly see it with him. I don't know. I think all the things that tends to get thrown at Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think like people talk about his defence, I think he's got a lot of them sort of problems as well, and he doesn't seem to get as much stick as Arnold, and I don't think he's as good going forward. I don't know.
That's probably a London thing as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think he seems to be like, like there's been times in the past where he's just like walked back into the England team after injury. Obviously Arnold, I know, has been playing recent, but yeah, I don't know. And obviously you're famous for saying about your numbers, Sean. I'd like to see his numbers of sort of, I think I just had them up about playing games, the last couple of years, not as maybe many as he should be playing, really. I don't know. But
yeah,
obviously he's still young and he's still got a career. He could start to solve them problems and get back in. And, he's clearly a great talent.
Sounds quite familiar, a Southern fullback getting a preference over the Scouse one for no good reason.
It is.
It was
Who had the first 10 minutes?
What I was going to say was, I quite like about Lauren James. I might have just build this up in my head because I like it. Obviously, I like wrestling and I like the storylines. But like, I loved at the World Cup when she got sent off. It was almost like shades of Beckham. When you think like it was a very similar setup. She got sent off, and then she's out on Twitter apologising, and then you get like she didn't get the redemption of like.
What did she do to get sent off?
She stamped on someone.
Right, okay.
Similar sort of thing to Beckham, where it wasn't. It was like a bit off the ball. It wasn't really.
Yeah, so she'd kind of just been taken down, stamped. But I just think she didn't get the redemption in the final. That would have been storybook. But then Beckham didn't get his. Beckham didn't get his until Greece. So she's still
still coming.
Time. Yeah, so mine was more based on Lauren James than Reece James. Future of English football, men's and women's.
Maybe we do leave that poll running for 5 years. Then maybe that's
what I mean. I'm getting on that. Yeah, we'll do that, Sean.
The real quiz. Okay, then. Yeah, well presented argument, Sean. I think. Shall we go to our guest, Paddy? Would you like to present your candidate for the Marooned 5?
Yeah. So I've gone with two brothers. Who again, like the other suggestions, maybe not Callum's, but similar theme to Sean. They're both playing or have played at the top of the game. So I went with Kolo and Yaya Toure. I think they were the first to come to mind, really, for me, because of how successful they both were. I think on Sean's theme of how well Lauren James has done. I think that's a good point, because I think for any older or any siblings, I think if you see the older sibling doing well at something, it's easy to maybe take a back seat and think, that's their thing. But I think there's only 2 or 3 years between Kolo and Yaya. But obviously Kolo sort of becomes a household name a lot earlier, playing in the Premier League in sort of the early 2000s, and that Arsenal team. He's a big part in the Invincibles. And then he gets the move to City when they're sort of starting to buy stars. I think he's the same summer as like Adebayor and Tevez and that sort of crop of players they brought in. And then Yaya as well, I think, to come through in that Barcelona team under Guardiola when, it was very a certain type of player, technical, a lot smaller, intricate players. And he's clearly, obviously, a big, powerful footballer, very good technically as well. I think that's one of the things he's really underrated for. He had both. And yeah, for him to come to the Premier League as well. And I think even now, obviously with the rise of De Bruyne and thinking the way City have gone on and kept getting better, I think he's already been slightly forgotten, Yaya Toure, in terms of how good he was. They both won the AFCON for Ivory Coast in 2015, so obviously a massive achievement for the country. And yeah, I just think, I'll be honest, I think they both seem really sound as well. Kolo was really good for Liverpool. Yaya seems great as well.
Don't forget his birthday.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there was that incident. But no, I think overall, in terms of two brothers, I think you will struggle to find two who are both individually as good as them two.
Maybe the Toshes.
Good song as well.
I was thinking of when you said you were going to do them, of like that season where obviously that Yaya Toure season of 13-14, obviously Kolo was playing for Liverpool, and obviously Liverpool and City were both going for the title. And there's an argument to say Yaya Toure sort of dragged City to that title really at the end of the season. You think of some of the goals where he's like running the length of the pitch and things like that. just Colo give one away against West Brom or something where he passes one across the box and he drops point. Again, I think that was earlier on, but like when you look back at the end of the season, we obviously 4/5 of the chat here love watching Steven Gerrard slip and remembering that one. But there's also drop as Yaya's dragging City to that league title, isn't he? Unbelievable that year.
That season, Yaya Toure gets double figures goals and assists. It's always one of them like screenshots that gets thrown around Twitter every now and again in terms of like his numbers that year. And it almost seems like, when you see like a group of stats and you think that must be fake.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't seem like that's sort of a forgotten about in terms of City's titles. I think that's one that's sort of forgotten about because there's obviously the first one. There's the one when they get 100 points. So then there's been obviously a couple where they've picked us by a point. Whereas that title race, like for long periods, it was Chelsea as well, innit? And Liverpool sort of came to the title race late that year. And I think we won about 12-13 on the bounce, which got us in it. But yeah, when we beat City with I think 4 or 5 games to go, they're not well out of it, but they're a good few behind, and then he sort of just drags them to it the last few games and they win them all. But yeah, Colo's a funny one for Liverpool because he sort of comes in and he's never meant to be a starter or anything like that. It sort of just has to be. And then he does have a few like comedy moments, like that one against West Brom. I think he scores a funny own goal that same season against Fulham, but he just completely miskicks it. But towards the back end under Klopp, he gets back on the side and he has a really good run towards the UEFA Cup final. And he was just likable, wasn't he? He was always like playing with a smile on his face, always give everything. I think Colo was really one who's hard not to like.
No, I don't dislike them. I think I would have hated Colo Toure a bit more if he wasn't a bit of a comedy figure for quite a bit of his Liverpool career, and he was great before that, wasn't he? So nothing against.
Interesting to see where like City fans would have him, like of the last like since the takeover, where I'm sure they'd have De Bruyne and David Silva. I imagine most of them would have Yaya Toure top 3, maybe Company as well, so maybe top 5. But...
If they don't, they're stupid.
That goes out to our City fans then, yeah.
But again, even
I still agree with me.
The one where they win it ahead of United, people, there was a couple of games there where I remember after they beat United, they beat Newcastle on the Sunday, and he scores a brilliant goal there, and again he scored the winner in the cup final. We scored the winner in the semi against United that year, which was them coming back. I think he was there from the start of the turnaround, whereas someone like De Bruyne, they were already. I think. I can remember he played a Champions League final centre half, I think, when it was short.
2009.
Yeah, and Pep doesn't particularly have bad footballers apart from Haaland, but
he played centre half for Barca consistently, doesn't he?
Well, maybe he did, yeah. Probably, I suppose if you got Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta, he probably did.
Yeah, I thought he did, yeah.
But yeah, right, good shout. Shall we go to Bob, who? Letting you behind the curtain. We actually all don't know what Bob's going to do. Bob's kept it a surprise, so we're all pretty excited to see what he's going to do here and deliver.
After last week's episode, almost as soon as we finished recording, I thought, I really should have picked Victor Anichebe there, and I really regret not going for him, just for comedy, really, but it's beside the point. So this week I've gone back to what everyone's expecting and gone for a very strong Everton link. And when Callum was talking about his so-called dynasty, I thought of changing my one last minute to go for the longevity, and I could have gone for Alan Ball, absolute legend for Everton. His dad and his son completed a trilogy of their family who managed in the Football League, so I could have gone for that. But I'm going to start with a teammate of Alan Ball, league winner in 1969, I believe. That man is Alan Whittle.
70.
What?
70.
69. Okay, 69, 70. Sorry. So he's the first of the famous footballing family. Second of those is, I think, Everton's youngest captain, recently departed. We all miss him terribly. Mr. Tom Davies. So I don't think we need a poll anymore. Just stick those 2 straight on the island.
How would he relate to Bob?
Oh, yeah, I should have said that. Alan Whittle is Tom Davies' uncle. That's why I asked if I could have any relation, and you confirmed I could. So back to form with a Everton link.
I'm not going to lie, when you said that Everton link and Victor Anichebe, I thought you were going for Iwobi and a Koche.
Oh,
which arguably was better.
Good. No.
Arguably.
There's no question.
I just don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that means I win because no one's got any comment.
I reckon we might have to close Marooned 5 this week, Josh. It's absolute shambles.
It's not an absolute shambles.
I have heard of Alan Whitlow. I think he's renowned as being a very good Everton player, but
Yeah, that's a good legacy. I have heard of him.
No one's heard of any of Callum's, and he took half an hour talking about his. Yeah, but man,
the story, Sean.
Of the Tom Davies story.
Is it a good one?
I think I've told you all, but I'll tell anyway.
Oh yeah.
Me and Paddy were at Marine one cold Tuesday night, and as Paddy always does, he's talking about how great he is at footy, and he was talking
Never
about
passes though.
Well, yeah, he doesn't head the ball either. He was talking about his glory days at West Derby because he was saying that the difference between Marine players and him wasn't that big.
That's not what
the
conversation was at all.
Not like that, Pad. And then he's talking about his glory days in West Derby. And he said when he was a kid, he used to consistently play against Tom Davies and pocket him when they were kids. He'd absolutely
Again, I didn't say that either.
Paddy, I'm paraphrasing.
I should have told the story.
Have you ever scored a goal like that one against City? No.
And then
he wouldn't have scored it if I was on the pitch.
And then after the story, after he's slagged Tom Davies off for 5 minutes about how bang average he is, we turned around and the row behind us, Tom Davies is sat there.
What a man!
Yeah, and then Paddy, you've never seen Paddy just go into himself anymore. Didn't say a word for the rest of the game.
I did when we were on the canal boat when Lucian had to go.
I think that's a bit niche, that Tosh.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
Yeah, has anyone else got any thoughts on Alan Whitlow?
Well, I mean, I think it shows how we've had to tell our own Tom Davies stories.
We've all got our own, haven't we?
Has anyone got an Alan Whitlow story while we're here? Or?
Eddie Gray probably does.
Might do.
So Callum, I thought you had no chance before this, but tell you what, could be interesting.
Yeah,
just wait until I win.
Did Tom Davies come to your school as well, Sean? Was it just Andy Gordon?
Oh yeah, sorry, Tom Davies did, and Andy Gordon, yeah. I don't know if we want another Tom Davies story.
Yeah, more.
Okay, I'll tell you how nice a fella he is. In the old school, when we played Crystal Palace at the end of the season, we were on residential. So all our kids were interested. So we recorded a video of me telling them the score, and it half went like Everton viral a little bit. Which weirdly, I was on a training course last week, and I was talking about it to some fella, and he was going, "Oh, I saw that. Was that you? Yeah." And I felt like a proper celebrity. So then through that, we ended up getting a visit from Everton in the community, and he brought Tom Davies and Anthony Gordon, who, for all his criticisms, I'll never slag him off. He's my mate. They were great with the kids, and then at the end of their little trip, the kids had a footy match, and the two of them stayed. He got involved in team talks, were giving advice, and just generally was dead sound. And Tom Davies actually recorded the video for my wife, who fancies him a lot. And I asked him
he shaved his head just like yours, Sean.
I know. I think it's because he didn't want to take it from me.
Yeah, it's fair enough. What a nice lad.
Yeah, he was a really nice fella.
Our kids used to deliver papers to his house, and he used to tip very well. So,
what a fella.
You know what?
It's another story.
Hey, I've changed it. You all vote for Tom Davies and Alan Whitlow, please.
You didn't say I wasn't adding the context of they had to be good at footy and just talking about nice lads here.
Yeah.
All you've done, Bob, is just say the names, and everyone else is giving your argument for you. That's what
I know. I don't have to make a case, do I? Because everyone already knows.
It was meant to be footballing families. Bob's just done nice families.
I still think it'll win.
Right, well, we'll see. We'll see when Tosh has a go.
You should have really done it, Sean, with them two anecdotes, to be honest. I'm surprised you didn't come with Davies and Whittle.
Oh, well, if I knew who he was.
All right, then, finishing off, I will finish off. Deliberately, I will be doing Bobby and Jack Charlton, who obviously both now passed away. Bobby passing away on Saturday. And I think I'll make a couple of short arguments. I was very sad to hear the news. He was someone grown up. I've read a couple of books about Bobby, the ones he wrote himself, autobiographies about his England and Manchester United years. And I think when you talk about sort of success and achievements, playing in a similar era to the likes of Eddie Gray and Alan Whittle, both being on the field, both starting a World Cup final and winning that World Cup final, being key parts of that. Bobby scoring a couple in the semi-final, and Mark and Franz Beckenbauer, they both won league titles for Manchester United and Leeds. Both actually won Football of the Year in successive years, the Football Writers Award in 66 and 67. I think two very different characters. I think Bobby was a very naturally gifted. As a youngster, he was obviously famously in the Busby Babes. He was obviously involved in the Munich air disaster. Again, very famously, maybe he changed his seat before the third and final attempted takeoff. He always was dealt with that with a lot of dignity and a lot of sort of class. And I think that was something you've seen a lot in his later career, always in the stands with his wife and things like that. He obviously then went on to win the European Cup in 1968, scoring 2 in the final against Benfica. I think he just is Mr. Man United. I think with Bobby, when you ask people the greatest Manchester United player ever, the greatest England player, I think if he's not the answer, if he's not the answer, he's in the top 3, I think. Just what he does. I think 1970 in the World Cup, he gets taken off with England winning in the quarterfinals. They get beat. England may have won that competition again. I think with regards to Jack, a different sort of character. He actually went to work before he was picked for Leeds. He was actually going to follow in his father's footsteps, working down the pits. He only made his England debut at the age of 29. Some people say, to make an Everton link, that Brian LeBone would have started if it wasn't for his wife giving birth and having a baby around that time. But Jack Charlton, I think, would have actually played. He was actually selected after Leeds had played Man United, and he goes into the changing room and tells Bobby that I've been selected for England after Leeds have beaten them. And I think Bobby responds something like, "That's great news, now F off," out the changing room. Just two fantastic sort of examples of English footballers coming from a very working class background. The difference, I suppose, where Jack comes superior is as a managerial career. He had spells at Middlesbrough, he had spells at Sheffield Wednesday, quite highly thought of there, but most famously with Ireland, where he qualified for the first competition in 88, where he did beat England in the Euros. He qualified for 90, where he got out the group. He won a knockout round on penalties, and then very famously in 1994, they beat Italy, who went on to get to the final. There's not many people in Ireland who like a lot of English people, I think, but I think Jack Charlton's revered over there. And again, I think I was doing a bit of research, and obviously there's a lot of news about Bobby Charlton, and there's a couple of things that I've seen. There was an article in The Guardian by Jonathan Wilson talking about the photo. There's a photo of the two of them on the turf at the end of Wembley, and I think quite famously, they had a bit of a falling out towards the end of the career, but that photo of two brothers on the pitch after winning the World Cup, just a fantastic photo. And then also a clip of, you might have seen, I think it's all over Twitter, on a Sports Personality Award, where Bobby's getting a lifetime achievement, and Jack Charlton just says something like, "Bobby Charlton's the best footballer I've ever seen, and he's my brother." Both passed away now. I think there's a brilliant documentary, I can't remember the name of it, about Jack Charlton I watched a couple of years ago, dead sad about the end of his life, but fantastic sort of character. He was seen as the more outgoing one. Everyone sort of loved him. Bobby was quite quiet, but as I say, I think Bobby, he's someone I've always sort of loved. I was really saddened to hear the news the other day. Just as a player, I think he's one of them players where I think if he was playing now, he would be loved. Just scores brilliant goals. He just seems to be, every time he gets within 30 yards, it's just sort of smacking it, and just nothing more than that, really. Just as, he scores a couple like that. He scores one at Anfield like that, which I love when United in an all-white kit. But yeah, I can't really think of much more to say. I had a couple of other things, I think, but I've lost my notes. So
Jack Charlton had honorary Irish citizenship as well, so that's another point for him.
Yeah, as I say, I think, as we said, there's not, famously don't particularly like English people, but he's absolutely loved. Any other thoughts? Or
I don't know about the two of them too well, Tosh, but yeah, didn't he famously not get on for quite a long time? Like, wasn't Jack?
I think it was something to do with the mum, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was to do with, I read just for Tosh's book club, this book here, Two Brothers, only from this year, by Jonathan Wilson, who I've mentioned. And it's to do with, apparently, Bobby's wife and his mum didn't get on particularly well. So Bobby became a bit estranged from the family, whereas Jack Charlton was Jack was absolutely loved. Jack was always the sort of just the life and soul of the party type thing. The other thing as well, if we're bringing in the rest of the family, they're actually, I think the mum's cousin is Jackie Milburn. So another extra thing as well in the family. But yeah, my focus was on the two of them. Just fantastic.
Didn't Jack get the Ireland job? As in, didn't he outwardly seek the Ireland job almost to get back in England? Because he wasn't even offered an interview or something for
Yeah, do you know what?
job.
I have that also does ring a bell. I think there was a few people at that time. I think England was sort of looking different ways. So obviously, famously, Brian Clough wasn't really sort of considered around that time. It was always something that put his nose out. But I think it was similar with Jack because at the end, I think Sheffield Wednesday did brilliant job Wednesday. I remember when I was at uni in Sheffield, we used to do exams at Sheffield Wednesday, and I can't remember what it was called, a Jack Charlton Suite. But like, there was one of the reviews of the exams. It was just full of photos of Jack Charlton. At that time, I didn't even know like he had a link to them. But yeah, I think obviously as well, linking to Callum's, and he's in that Leeds side. You know, that Leeds side is one of the most famous English footballing sides. You know, sometimes for the wrong reasons, but some brilliant footballers in there. And Jack was sort of say footballer of the year one year.
Yeah, I read a quote as well with all that stuff with Bobby at the weekend, and it was something along the lines of, you'll probably be able to tell me it verbatim, Tosh, but it was like Jack said, Bobby was really good at football, and I was really good at stopping people being good at football. Which, like, I like that because as a defender, my job's to stop you being good. That's the only way I can get by. And I really like the fact he seems quite a humble fella who, almost I couldn't believe the career he had almost. And did it in spite of things as well. Like, maybe did it in spite of Bobby at times, almost seeing how heralded his brother was. Might have been a bit of a spare onto him. So, like,
yeah, I
think
that's definitely true. I think, like, as I say, I mentioned, you know, he was like toying. He was quite old, you know. I think Bobby was at United from the age of very young. You know, he was like, he had the choice of going up to Leeds for a bit of a trial or a few weeks, or going down the pit. I think, say, just a very working class family. I think it was Ashington near Newcastle. The dad, I think, actually missed the World Cup semi-final because he was down the pit. And like, Bobby scored two. I think Jack Charlton gave away a penalty that day as well. But you know, that was sort of like just like sums it up really, just that the family and the working class background, and Bobby having to move up. Well, they're both moving away to Leeds and Manchester, but yeah, just very sad news, and hope he rests in peace. They both do. Okay then, so brings to the end our Marooned 5 feature. So just a quick recap. There was the Greys, the Tories, the James, the Whittle/Davises, and the Charltons. So remember to go to Twitter and give whatever you think is the best football and family a vote, and we'll give you the results this time next week.
Where are you putting the Mike Bassett clip in?
I'll find some. Tell you what, now.
You all right there, Swelzy?
Yeah, Mark.
You got the best part of the dressing room here, you know. It's Charlton's lucky peg.
Yeah? Oi! See that, boys? I've got Bobby Charlton's lucky peg.
No, Jackie Charlton.
Oh, that was great, wasn't it?
What a film.
So that was another great round of Marooned 5. We'll see who you vote for. Looking forward to seeing those votes come in. We will now go on to review the Merseyside derby that happened over the weekend. It was a game of plenty of talking points, and we've got our resident Liverpool fan for this weekend here to maybe either argue or agree with us. I'm sure we've got lots of grievances, but maybe just before we go on to that, we'd like to say that obviously very saddened here of the passing of Bill Kenwright, who's obviously Everton chairman and been chairman for a long time. So yeah,
longest serving.
Yeah, pass our thoughts to his family and friends, and yeah, hopefully he rests in peace. But I will hand it over to Bob, who is the only one of us wearing an Everton shirt, and he can start his Merseyside derby review, and we might watch Paddy scream a bit as we all kind of have a go at him. But yeah,
no, I think I'm going to be completely reasonable. I'm probably just going to regurgitate. Sorry,
there's a first.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to regurgitate what I said in the preview. I think I said that I can't see Everton getting much out of the game, but if there's any risk of us getting a point, the referee is going to get involved by either. I think I said send 7 players off. That was obviously a bit ridiculous. Then give 4 pens. So I didn't get the numbers right, but I got the general script correct. I think, yeah, at least the theme, I got that right. Ashley Young's sending off was stupid, and I've seen some people say that it was harsh on him, but I think it's overwhelmingly the case that Ashley Young is pushing 40 years of age. He came in and as this experienced, reliable professional, he shouldn't be making that kind of mistake to give away a stupid foul. having already been given a booking, he should have known that if he's given the referee in a Merseyside derby that decision to make, he's going to make it against them. So I'll blame Ashley Young over the ref for that. But obviously the lack of consistency to not send Canate off is the frustrating part of Ashley Young sending off. And the say inconsistency, it was always going to happen. The Canate thing, I'm not at all surprised that he didn't send them off because it's a derby at Anfield. Liverpool had a decision go against him for the first time since Pickford's challenge on Van Dijk the other day. So I think we're still paying for that, really. So 2 sendings off covered there. The pen, again, it's an experienced professional, and Michael Keane, he shouldn't have his arm out like that. I think it was probably the right decision to give the pen, but on the other side of it, I don't think we'd get that pen in a million years at Anfield.
He didn't give it, to be fair, Bob.
Okay, if he goes to look at the screen and in that situation, he'd say, "Oh no, I got it right the first time round," and we wouldn't get that pen in a million years.
I obviously agree. Obviously, he didn't give it, but there's no way he's seen that and thought, "I can't give that." If you're looking right at it, I don't think he thinks it's come off his knee or something. I think he knows exactly what's happened, but in the moment he doesn't think, "Oh, that's worthy of a handball." So I don't see kind of what the difference of the VAR makes. But I think it's one of those.
I'd want it given for us.
No, exactly.
Us get it at Anfield, but I'm blaming Keane over that because again he's given the referee a decision to make. It was stupid. The number, I think you said the stat that 4 of our last 5 pens we conceded have been because of Michael Keane. Maybe 3 out of 4. So it just showed we've been cursed by Michael Keane for 7-8 years now. He keeps on making mistakes.
Yeah, it was. That's what it was clumsy, wasn't it? It was clumsy, but again,
it was a classic Michael Keane, wasn't it?
It probably is a penalty. I don't think anyone really moans about that. I think it's more the fact that, and as you say, Bob, I don't think anyone really moans about the Youngs bookings. I think it's probably harsh in that someone makes 2 tackles in the first.
Oh yeah, that was the other one. Samikas was on 4 fouls and didn't have anything.
Yeah, and his first one was the same as Young's first one as well, just a couple of minutes later. I just think that, how often does that happen? Someone gets 2 yellows in the first half.
Yeah.
We see him with Canate. He got a chance to bring him off because Klopp knew the next tackle he goes. Young wasn't given.
I think you probably think that Ashley Young, he's not going to make that mistake and give another foul away this half.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, that one would have been his one, wouldn't he? If he makes that and he's not get booked, possibly gets brought off at half time. Yeah, possibly
as well. Sorry, just that that point you're trying to make, Cam. A few weeks ago that Kovacic against Arsenal, where puts in, and that everyone says, and which you sort of say, it's a big game. You just give him a chance, don't you? And again, everyone, you look at them 2 tackles in isolation, they're both bookings.
Yeah,
and I think when we were saying, I actually for some reason watched it in a pub, and the Everton fans amongst us were saying, you can't really complain, it's just stupid.
Yeah,
but you think, could you just give him a chance? And one of us actually said, if it, as Bob says, and I know we say it often, and you often say it as a sort of cop out. It was the other way around. It doesn't happen, but then he actually goes and does it, and that's the thing which sort of baffles you. You think, he must know that if he sends him off, that he's got to send Canate off. He must know. Yeah. If that first incident happens, we'd all be saying, okay, yeah, he should have been sent off. He might be given, But that's the bit that it actually baffles me, how he's not set, just how stupid he must be, that he must know. And he's not asked that. He's still, I'll still do it,
I think on the Young one, I think what you're saying about, what you said there, Callum, about, he doesn't give him a chance to be you've got one more. I mean, this is no consolation. I'm not saying this is how you should referee games, but I wonder if the tackles are the other way round, whether that first one. So say if you the one that he gets the second yellow for, if that's his first yellow card, I wonder if he'd have sent him for, if he'd done a similar foul. I'm not saying that's right. But I just think when you're on, when he got booked, Young, whatever you think of the first yellow card, I think it probably is a yellow card. I thought you should take him off straight away because I thought, regardless of how experienced he is, he's playing against a fast, tricky winger who's just going to get at him at every chance now. So anything, if he makes one foul and the ref lets him off, the fact that the second one is such a blatant yellow card, I just don't think he's helped himself at all.
No, it was just stupid of him, and it's the inconsistency that is the right. Another thing on the pen, I saw someone jump into the defence of Michael Keane, not even defending Michael Keane, just saying everyone's made up that was Keane doing that rather than Branthwaite. But it's just such a stupid thing to say when Michael Keane does that kind of thing so often. It's not a one-off for Michael Keane, is it? And Jared Brandtwaite is probably the best centre-back in the world at the moment.
I thought Keane was a strange sub because I can sort of understand why you go, well, we've got 10 men, we put another centre-half on. But when he came on, I thought straight away, we'll always have a chance to score while he's on the pitch because he might give away a penalty.
I'd have gone for Godfrey, considering the pace in Liverpool's front three. Going for
I'll be honest, I think it was possibly too early to take off as many attackers as you did. I don't see if I think you could have made an argument to keep at least one of them wingers on as a wing back.
Yeah, typical Dice, really, though, wasn't it? Well, I think all in all, I was pleasantly surprised with most of our performance, really, and a lot less pessimistic about another relegation fight, having seen what I saw over the weekend.
Yeah, I think obviously as we all told in our predictions last week, didn't we? And I sort of said we might nick something, might get a draw. And to be honest, I think up until the Young sending off, we were more than in the game. I think the game had a bit of an end-to-end to it without any team really having any sort of real massive chances. But obviously, the plan for us was obviously to get into half-time at 0-0. We do that, and we come back out if we've got 11 men. Harrison and McNeil stay on the pitch, and I don't know, the game might change a bit as we go through that game. So, I think the sending off just ruined it, which is annoying. But then, obviously, at 0-0, the chance for Canate to go off puts it back in our favour a bit. And I think Liverpool, just before that, had made all their kind of attacking subs. So Liverpool would have been very unbalanced, I think. I think they'd already brought on Núñez and Elliott at that point, I think. So, they've Liverpool kind of thrown their hand in. So, to lose a centre-back at that moment, that would have been a bit of a reshuffle for Liverpool then, and we would have been settled in the game. So, yeah, bit frustrating, bit annoying, but I mean, just to bring it up, Bob, seems though you did about the Van Dijk thing, and Liverpool fans still moaning about that. Everyone seems to forget that he was actually offside. There was an offside before Pickford put that tackle in. So, yeah, so everyone needs to stop moaning about that. Everyone forgets that it was offside. So
they're still talking about. I know we are as well, just for the comedy of it. But that was 1,000 and odd days ago now. Still talking about it, and people will forget about this Canate thing within a week, I reckon.
I don't think it was a yellow.
The Pickford one.
That's what we want, Pad. A bit of bite. Come on.
What were your general thoughts on Liverpool, Paddy?
Yeah, I think it just followed a similar theme to other derbies. I think, especially the Anfield one. I never really see the Anfield one as the derby. I think Goodison's always a bit more feisty and feels a bit more like a derby. I mean, with your struggles the last 4 or 5 years now, it does feel like just a tricky game against the bottom half team where you're going to sit in. I get why, and it's just going to be a case of us trying to break you down, which has sort of been the case. It's easy to say now and things like that, but I actually don't think I get why you feel aggrieved by Canate staying on the pitch, but I just don't think it would have changed a lot. I never felt like you were going to hold on purely because we've tended not in the last 5 or 6 years under Klopp. We've tended not to draw homes 0-0 at home. We've always managed to score, and I thought especially with the likes of Keane on the pitch for use, even Pickford as well has been prone to an error at Anfield. I always just thought we'd find a way to get a goal. So I thought the ground was quiet, and I think that the R12 thing
always is.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it wasn't a nervous energy. I thought the goal would come, and then and obviously when it did, we were always going to win because I don't think you'd be ever going to find a way back into the game with 10 men. But yeah, no, I'm fairly comfortable. There's always that worry with a Dice team on set pieces. But I thought his report from that perspective as well, he didn't really trouble us there. So
you were more threatening from our set pieces.
Yeah, no, I thought the only way we'd score first half really was, I think we broke 3 or 4 times and that final pass was poor. But
I think I agree with what you said. I think the Canate one, I don't think it would have changed much in terms of we certainly wouldn't have probably got much more attacking. I don't know. I being the negative fan I am, I sort of, you're thinking, oh, they are going to score, they're going to score. But it was sort of getting to that point where you think, oh, maybe they actually won't. No, they got to 70 odd minutes and they haven't. And as Callum said, not massively threatening. The threat tended to be on the counter in the first. I don't know. But again, it's, Liverpool are a better side than Everton.
Yeah, just as you say there, Tosh, my final point on is Liverpool don't need the ref to play as a 12th man for them to win the derby. They could have easily won that game without the ref getting involved. It's just unfair.
Interesting to see one where it didn't, though. Never know, would you?
Yeah, but they didn't need us to go down to 10 men. They're clearly the better team. They don't need the ref on their side as well.
Yeah, stop being so smug, Paddy. Stop agreeing with us, Paddy. Argue with us.
It just isn't any argument, is it really? Tosh has said we need to move on, so should we bring up the Jack Rodwell sending off a few years ago? That ruined that man's career.
Or the Graham Paul one where it goes in off Don Hutchinson's back. Yeah.
And the Carragher assault on Lescott.
That was coming together.
Was it? I muted myself there before I swore.
So then, before we go into our keeping up appearances game, we will preview this weekend's derby, which is the Manchester derby. Obviously a big one for both teams. Both teams got big wins and much needed wins the weekend just gone after the international break. So yeah, it should be an interesting one next week. Manchester United, I think, will have that maybe added motivation. He'll have that emotional kind of charge there with the sad passing of Sir Bobby Charlton. And, things sometimes happen like that in life, and they might just get a bit of a miraculous win for him. But yeah, I think obviously City, you tend to think always going into those games are probably favourites. Sean, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
If I'm honest, my absence from the derby chat was mainly due to the fact I didn't watch the match, and I've actually watched no football from the weekend. While the derby was being played, I was in the air, and then I've just not caught up with any footy. Just that's what happens when you're away. But I can't really comment on this weekend. But based on what I've seen from earlier on in the season, I think it should be a fairly straightforward win for City. I don't think United look particularly promising at all, really. I feel like they're getting outplayed by some of the littler teams in the league a bit too often for it to be a coincidence. I think against Burnley, they really struggled. Then against Brentford, and then against Sheffield United again, squeezing a victory. I don't know. I just don't think they look particularly good. And I think that Erik ten Hag's still playing about with his best team. I know he's got injuries, but they just don't look like...
Definitely don't look comfortable, do they?
No, they don't at all. Unless they have a bit of Bobby Charlton-inspired magic.
That's what I mean. I think it's at Old Trafford, isn't it? And things just happen like that sometimes, don't they? And
yeah,
it might just be one of those. Yeah, it might just be one of those days. But yeah, Tosh, what do you reckon?
I was just going to add on to that. I think there's been a lot. Obviously, the last 4 or 5 years, City have been extremely dominant, and I think probably every derby you've got in certain things like that. And I think United have not got a terrible record. I think Ollie had a decent record against them. United did beat them at United last year when City were dominant. So
yeah,
I did my research unlike Sean, I watched the first half of Man City, and I've got to say the first half of Man City was the best I've seen Man City for a while. They were free flowing. I think that Doku sort of gives them something different. I think I was talking to someone today and I said he reminds me of when Sane first came for them, just that raw sort of pace and power, and just a bit, I'm sure Pep will kick that out of him, but sort of just something a bit different. He's running, he's cutting in, he's shooting, he's different. I don't know. But I thought that was the best I've seen City. Apparently, the second half, they weren't as good. But I think if City turn up and play like that, I don't think United will have much of an answer to it. United started on Saturday with Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans centre-back. Now, they actually both played all right. I think Maguire may have been man of the match. I'm not too sure. I didn't see the end bit. But it's the difference between playing against Sheffield United and, Haaland. And I think, yeah, it's hard. I'm trying to make a case for Man United, and I think if City turn up, City win. But we have seen United last year, as I say, it was a similar sort of scenario, and not many people. I know United was probably in better form going into it, but City went ahead in that game reasonably late on. United turned it round. So I don't think, you never write off Man United the way you'd never write off Liverpool. But I think, yeah, I just think, as I say, I mentioned that City were the best I've seen in that first half against Brighton. Brighton played into the hands, Brighton were open, but City actually looked with Foden and Bernardo and people like that, and even Haaland looked, as he scored a goal outside the box, a great goal. I think it's hard to see anything but a City win, really.
Do you think that Doku, Tosh? I've seen some people on Twitter and things call him a bit of a one-trick pony because he seems to do that same little shuffle and down on his right foot.
Yeah.
Is that something do you lot think defenders are going to become attuned to and become able to defend, or is it one of those where he can't
do anything about it,
even though they know he's going to do it, they can't stop him because he's so quick?
when some wingers are that good at their one trick,
Like Robin,
in
isn't he?
Arsenal, yeah, exactly. I don't think he'll ever be that level, but some wingers just are good enough at one thing that you can't defend against it.
He's obviously very good at what he does. He's super quick, and you probably think the only fullback who's quicker than him is probably Walker, so he doesn't have to worry about that coming up against a faster fullback. But I also think that obviously with City, with maybe other teams where they've had one really good player, it's a bit like, okay, the centre-back might double up with the fullback, but no centre-back's going to double up with the fullback when you've got Haaland standing in the box. So he's that duck who's more often than not going to have his fullback 1v1 all the time, and that seems to be his game. So I think, yeah, it's one of those where what does the defender even do about it?
He was also playing against James Milner right back on Saturday, which, I actually got a lot of respect for Milner and things like that, but, that was just never going to work. And I think Sean's arguments about sort of some defenders being wise to him, I think that probably will be the case, but I also think that Pep will coach him in a way that suits their system a bit more, a bit like what he did with Grealish. Grealish wasn't the footballer he is now. When he first signed for City, he probably was a bit more of a dribbler and a bit of a... Some might say that, he's less of a footballer now, he just plays as part of a system, but you imagine there'll be an element of that. At the first time I've really watched him properly, it felt like he's come off the bench in a couple of the games I've watched, but I really enjoyed watching him.
He's not, like I say, he's not a typical City player, is he? But that's almost like the beauty of it, I think. But again, that's like the surprise element almost. The teams are set up to try and stop City in terms of the City pattern of play, and then he gets the ball and it's all a bit sort of chaotic and chaos. Yeah, there's definitely interesting matchups there, all over the pitch really, but I think as we've said, I think it's City's, isn't it? Most probably.
Do a little run round predictions.
I'll go 3-1 City.
A button there. Someone robbed mine last week, so I was going to go 4-1. I'm going 4-1 City. I think if it goes the right way, City could run all over them.
I reckon 1-0 United to Sir Bobby.
And I'll go 2-1 City. I can't see a Tronson, to be honest. Not that I think City are capable and United are capable of conceding that many, but I just can't see it. So I'll go 2-1 City.
I reckon Harry Maguire will get the winner to complete his redemption arc.
Not sure he'll play. I think Varane came off the bench, didn't he? I actually thought Lindelof looked very good.
Didn't say he'd start. Just said he'd score the winner. Yeah, did it first.
Right then, so it's time for another game of keeping up appearances.
These are the rules. We select 3 matches from this week's fixtures, which are entered into the Wheel of Fortune. This will randomly select our featured game. This match will be the focus of our discussions, predictions, and most importantly, our game of keeping up appearances. Once our fixture has been chosen, we'll use an online generator to provide a target number for our game. For us, this is anything between 50 and 450. Our job then is to think of a player who's made that many appearances for either of our selected teams. Whoever's closest wins. Each week, 4 points will go to the closest person, 3 points for second place, 2 points will go to third place, and the person who's furthest away gets 1. These points will be accumulated over the whole season, and we'll update our league table each week.
Rather than sticking to the derby theme like we did last week, where we previewed the Merseyside derby and then played with that game, we're going to do it slightly differently. So we've previewed the Manchester derby, but we're going to include it in our random Wheel of Fortune. Rather than choosing it, we're going to leave it up to chance still. So our 3 games for this week are United City, Chelsea Brentford, and Wolves Newcastle. So let's spin the wheel. And we have Chelsea Brentford.
Say Chelsea.
Yeah, yes, it's Chelsea, everyone. So obviously, as we're not previewing any games, we might as well go straight in and get our number as well. Parameters the same as ever. And our number this week is 128.
That's a tough one, Callum.
That is a very tough number, that. 129, I would have had a go, but 128
I think you could be
tough number. I might be, but I think I'll do good this week.
Okay. Oh, in fact, who's doing the song?
Pretty Green Eyes, isn't it?
Do a family one.
You said you were going to do the cause, weren't you?
No, surely it's got to be the Bee Gees.
We could do an Oasis song.
No,
Manchester Derby.
no.
Family.
You know what? We'll do that at the end when Paddy's gone.
Yep.
It's so much easier.
No, I want to debate it now. What's the number again?
128. How many seasons is that? 3.
It probably depends which team you go for. Possibly a couple with Chelsea in it, but it's probably more with Brentford, given that they wouldn't have like the cup
What do you mean?
runs and
What
stuff.
team I go for?
So you're not going for Brentford.
How many's Tony had off again?
Don't say you might pick.
Yeah.
This is probably too close to gambling to pick Tony.
Oh, topical. I think I've got mine, by the way.
I've got mine.
This could be way off.
Not to quote Callum, I've got absolutely no idea what this one could be like.
I hope Callum's just way off anyway. Gotta be smart going Brentford. Are you ready, Pad?
I've got one.
Right, so I think we've all got answers, and as Paddy needs to shoot off, we're going to let him have his go, then we'll say goodbye to him, and then the rest of us will have our go. So go on, Pad, what's your guess for this week?
Chelsea, as I think most of us will have done. I think it's tricky Chelsea as well, though, because I think a lot of players sort of in the last 10, 15 years have stayed there for long periods of time. So my pick is Fernando Torres. Obviously, there's that Liverpool connection there. I know he had his injury troubles, but I know there was a couple of seasons when he was at Chelsea where he might not have scored as many goals, but I think he did play a lot. I know the year Rafa was manager, they also won the Europa League, and I think he was top scorer in that competition. So I based that on the logic of quite a high appearance season if he played a lot of league games, and then obviously the Europa League, there's quite a few games in that as well. So yeah, I'll be honest, I aimed for around the 100 mark and hoped that he'd be around that. But yeah, no, I don't think Torres would be a bad guess. I would be surprised if he's much higher than that.
Could be Wales.
Yeah, could be Wales. But yeah, I'll go with Torres.
Anyone volunteering to go next, or are we bidding farewell to Pad?
Well, should we just let him go off silently in a bit rather than making a big fuss?
Right.
He doesn't deserve it, to be fair, does he? Right, go on, who wants to go next? Anyone? Or do you want me to just go?
Go on, Sean, if you're happy.
Okay, I got quite to go mine anyway, because I've only got one, so I don't want anyone to take it. I have chosen someone this week who I actually mentioned a couple of weeks back, but for a different team. And I didn't go for them, but I nearly did. They were in me thinking. And that was a Newcastle player. But before they went to Newcastle, they were at Chelsea. So my guess this week is Damien Duff.
Was it the left foot connection?
Yeah, obviously. He was my hero growing up.
Well, I'll go next. I've got two in mind. One of which was actually makes me think of that early Chelsea team with Duff alongside. I was thinking Robin. Used to absolutely love Robin. And obviously, he reminds me of you a lot, Sean. Similar sort of style of player.
No way.
Yeah, I was going to say same hairline.
Same hairline, same left foot. He was sort of my second one because again, I know he was there. He wasn't there an awful long time, and he was injured. I think at times. I've gone a bit different this time. I've tried to go a bit older, obviously dominating the competition a bit too much. I need to give people a chance. I'm going a bit freestyle. I'm going to go Alex, the centre half.
Oh, interesting.
Again, genuinely, not to quote you. It's a bit weird, that one. Not to go Carl too much. It could be, actually genuinely could be well because he could just have like 30 appearances. But I seem to remember he was there a couple of years. I remember he scoring like used to take the free kicks and absolutely smack it, Alan Stubb style.
Mm-hmm. So he moulded his entire career off.
Yeah, I just thought he just popped to mind again. Difficult 2-3 seasons. In my head, he was there that long, but he was obviously around the time of Terry and Carvalho. So I reckon he'd be on the lower side rather than the bigger side. But yeah, I'm not too sure. But I think he probably got slightly more than Robin. But maybe I'm wrong on that one. Go on, just last person. Was it? Oh, no, we got a couple more.
It's me and Bob. Do you want to go, Bob?
Yeah, I'm not going to quote you again, Callum. We've done too much of that and the joke will get old. I've surprisingly gone Brentford, but unsurprisingly, I've gone for a very slight Everton link. Somebody who came through our academy, but I don't think he ever made a professional appearance. And I don't know why his name's stuck in my head for all these years, but I'm going to go for Jake Bidwell, who is now at Coventry, I think. Someone like that. I think A few years at Brentford, went to QPR, then Swansea, I think, and now he's at Coventry, possibly. Not much else to say, really.
You just said he was like related to Alan Whittle or something as
I
well.
was just going to say he's not related to Alan Whittle, but
I remember him. He was like, remember that game where we played Bait Borisov in the coldest night in Britain ever? He played then. That was the only sort of recollection I have of him then. Like when he played all youngsters, didn't he? But honestly, yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start with that one. So, go on, Callum, finishes off.
Cool. So I will also go with a Brentford player. Again, just the first one that came to mind. I'll go with Ivan Toney.
No, he's banned from all football activity, so you can't say him.
No, he's not.
You're genuinely not allowed to have that.
No, I'm going to go Ivan Toney.
No, you're not. You've got to do another one.
He's probably been there for a few years. I think did he have one in the Championship, and he's had 2 in the Premiership now. So yeah, I'll go him on the basis of a few seasons at Brentford without any sort of extra cup competitions. Probably has you around the 120 mark.
Could be way off though.
Could be very close. I'm confident. Cool. Right, do this quick.
Yeah.
So we have checked the appearances on transfer markets as always. Trusted source. The results are in. So we will go from 5th to 1st place. 5th with a score of 211, which is 83 out, was Mr. Jake Bidwell. Unfortunately for you, Bob.
Oops.
Yeah, it was a stab in the dark.
That's a shock, isn't it?
It was a stab in the dark, but as someone might say, it was way out.
You knew he was a club legend.
In 4th place, with 172 appearances, was the guest's guess of Fernando Torres. So he was 44 out. And then the top 3 were very, very, very close and were only... There was a 3 appearance gap between the 3 guesses. So in 3rd place, with 134 appearances, was Tosh with Alex. Which is a very good shout there. So that leaves Duff and Tony for the top spot. And in 2nd place, with 124 appearances, just missing out on 1st place with 125 appearances, was Ivan Toney being 4 out, which means Damien Duff was 3 out of the 125 and gives the win to Sean, I love left-footed players, O'Hara. So yeah, a good top 3 there of keeping up appearances. Maybe possibly the closest top 3. So yeah, well done, guys. Some good shouts there and some good efforts.
Just if we have to check the records, I actually said Tony first, so I'll be having that one. Thank you.
And he's banned from all football activities, so you shouldn't be able to have him.
Are we saying then, Sean, Bob's getting no points then, and Paddy would be getting 1? Yeah.
Rude.
Let's have a quick look then at our updated league table for this week. Tosh remains top with 35 points. Sean is now in 2nd place with 30 points. And just below him, Callum and Bob are tied in 3rd with 28 points.
So that's another podcast done for this week. It was good to have Paddy with us as our special guest this week to review the Merseyside derby. We've had a preview of this weekend's derby. I don't know if that'll be a weekly theme, probably not. And yeah, another great game of keeping up appearances in which Sean was triumphant with a great shout, only 3 out. Me and Tosh very close to him on that. And then yeah, another great episode of the Marooned 5, and we'll see who you vote for. So please interact with that on our X account. The poll will probably go up on Friday. So yeah, have a vote. Vote who you think is the best, and we'll catch you next week.
Nicely done.
Right, good. See you in a bit.
Really enjoy your holiday.
I'll try.
Hi Hannah, hope you well.